Welcome back to Part of the Arts with me, Rebecca Godden. Now, this guest is the definition of a multi-talented creative queen. Francesca Pim is a musical theatre performer who's graced stages across London, on tour and in regional productions, and she even won a Great British Pantomime Award for Best Supporting Actress in 2020. But her passion for performance doesn't stop at the spotlight. Fran is also a fully qualified ballet teacher, sharing her love for dance, musical theatre and singing with students in Surrey and London. And if that wasn't enough, she brings joy and magic to children's hospital wards through her work with the amazing charity Spread a Smile, entertaining seriously ill children and their siblings. Join us as we talk about Pantos versus musicals, murder podcast shows, and the power of spreading smiles on stage and beyond. Enjoy. Hello, Francesca. Welcome to Parts of the Arts.
Hi, Becca. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on. We've just had a little pre-chat because we're not caught up in ages. So it was so nice just to have a little check-in with you. But don't worry, everyone, we've saved the best for the podcast. So I'm going to start straight in today with a little icebreaker. I'd love to know what you've seen lately within the arts world or consumed. It could be read, it could be listened to, that's kind of left you with a spark.
So I'm late to the party, I feel, with this one, but I have recently binged the current 4 seasons of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I'm obsessed.
Oh, I'm so pleased because I was going to say, if you haven't watched this, it's absolutely right up your street. How brilliant.
I love it. It's so good. Like,
good.
And you've binged it.
Yeah.
Like literally for
Yeah. So I've watched all the 4 seasons.
Do you know what? I thought the last season, I actually binged it when I was in recovery from my elbow, and I felt like it wasn't long enough. I was like, I want more.
Yeah, it really picked up momentum, and I found myself counting down. I could see, there's only 4 episodes left, so I wonder what's going to happen. There's only 2 left, and then suddenly it was the last episode, and obviously no spoilers for people who hopefully should go and watch it, but I was sort of, no, you can't do this to us. And then I thought, imagine if I'd watched this. I don't know when season 4 came out, but some people could have that really long gap between seasons when you're just like, come on, you've left me on a cliff.
I had that long gap, and then when it came out, I was like, oh my god, I kind of had forgotten what had happened. When you had to obviously do a great recap, and obviously, and for everyone listening as well, like, it's about them making a podcast, so it's very apt for this.
Yes, exactly. That's what I thought. I thought, it's a podcast. It's about a podcast. We're doing a podcast. It features the arts. And I just love it's becoming a little bit like who's going to be the next cameo, because there's incredible well-known actors who are sort of popping up left, right and centre. I mean, the fact that Meryl Streep plays a sort of struggling actress is
iconic.
The irony. So good. But I'm really excited.
So beautiful at that character as well, isn't she?
So she's got this sort of purity about her, and it makes you sort of emotional because she's so vulnerable in quite sort of comedic settings within the program. I think that's okay to say without giving anything away, but
absolutely.
She's just, every scene she does is a masterclass in acting, for whether it's comedy or just sort of like drama. She is just unbelievable, and my jaw dropped because I didn't know she was going to appear in the program, and when I saw her face I thought, I cannot believe they've got Meryl Streep playing this I didn't even get an audition, I've just turned up sort of character.
But also, we can all, within this industry, we can all relate to her.
So who thought, you can honestly say they ever thought that Meryl Streep would be relatable? She is now.
She is now. Watch Only Murders and you'll see the whole, audition rejection.
It's real. It's really real. But yeah, I thought that was just amazing casting. I loved when she sort of came into, and also not just do one episode. She's a pivotal character now. So
and she becomes kind of part of their little, unit, doesn't she? And she becomes a core. I mean, it would be an absolute waste if she didn't become a core character. I agree with what you said though. Like, sometimes huge stars will do these little cameos and it's just that, it's a cameo, they get a big payout. Like, I get it, they've made it, why not bloody do that?
Yes.
but to then actually, you know, commit to it, and the writers, you know, she probably worked with the writers and was like, actually, like, how can we create something beautiful? I feel like she's that kind of person.
Yeah, totally. I think whenever I think of her, even though it's nothing like the character that Donna in Mamma Mia, that's who you think she is. You think of Meryl Streep and you think of this sort of powerhouse feminist performer, but you also think of someone who, you know, summers in Greece.
Summers in Greece, lovely.
Yeah, he's there in Greece right now.
Yeah. Oh, and obviously it's got Selena Gomez, which I'm obsessed with her as an actor.
Yes, me too. I didn't think I would be.
Neither.
And I have to say, hand on heart, I think she was brilliant. And I've read things online about people saying they're not sure about her acting and that her delivery was really slow. But actually, I think from an acting point of view, that was completely intentional and just showed real time the sort of cogs ticking in somebody's brain to sort of process the many different plot turns that happen within the show. I think she's great.
And it's her character. She's this kind of like nonchalant, you know, she acts like she doesn't care. Again, not giving it away, but acts like she doesn't care, but she does. So I think that's part of the character. It's her just being like, okay, actually, let's delve into this.
Yeah, totally. I think she's great. I love her.
And people forget that she's come from like acting. That's how she started. So I think, you know, it's like, yes, she's this gorgeous superstar singer as well, but there is her core of, was it Disney she started on?
Yes. Yeah. Disney Channel, I think.
Disney Channel.
So
I never know if it's Disney or Nickelodeon. So I'm like one of them.
Other brands are available. No, I think you're right though, because she had that sort of launch pad into her career. And then obviously, I think normally if you said how do you know Selena Gomez, most people would say for her music. Yeah. But she holds her own in that program, you know, in a program where we've got Martin, who I think is fantastic in everything he does. So I think it's so well cast, and that's part of the brilliance that makes you want to carry on watching, because the characters are really consistently great. And
and I love the intergenerational relationships.
Yes,
I think that's really special, like how you can have a friend that is 30 years older than you, and that's fine, you know.
Absolutely. And then I think again that's just expanding the audience that can listen and can watch it, you know. It's one of those programs where now I'm obviously such a converted fan, a recent fan, I'm telling people about it, and I just keep saying there's something in it for everyone. You know, it doesn't matter whether you care about murder mystery, it doesn't matter if you care about comedy or the arts or podcasts.
All of it. It's got all of it.
There's something for everybody, and I just think it's so well done.
It's an easy watch. It is, like, yes, there are levels, and it's you know, it's deeper in other aspects. It is an easy watch. You can just kind of whack it on and have that feel good kind of, which, you know, I think nowadays, I don't know if you agree, that there's not a lot of like art for the sake of art sometimes. And sometimes you just need that. You're just like a little bit of escapism, especially in the world that we're living in at the moment. I think, you know, the arts is, yes, it's so important for the arts to tell a story and to make an impact and make people think and challenge them. But I think there's also something still to be said about art for art's sake, and still just being like, okay, but we're producing something to entertain.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And also, I mean, it's a whole different conversation, but the subject of stunt casting and putting sort of celebs and well-known people into theatre, TV, film, that's all well and good if there's a purpose for it. And I think this program is something that really, really does that beautifully, because they're cast, and your first thought is, oh, that's Meryl Streep, and then it's, oh, that's Meryl Streep. You know, they sort of quickly earn their stripes, and you think, well, you're perfect. And I absolutely love Nathan Lane, who I can't remember his character name, but he plays the dad of the boy who's deaf. Teddy is the boy's name. Yeah. I love Nathan Lane. Anything he does. I mean, he's been in Modern Family, and he's been in The Producers. I think his whole career is amazing, but you just know that he's going to be good in something. So I think you're right. I think that from the point of view of the arts, it ticks every box. The escapism is brilliant. The storyline is fab. It's got a budget about it, so you know it's not going to falter. The writing is good. The whole thing. The costuming, I'm watching like another outfit for them all. You know, the budget is through the roof at this point, particularly Selena Gomez. I remember watching it thinking, she never wears the same coat.
No, she doesn't. Oh my gosh, you're so right. She's got so many. How does she have room for all those coats? She lives in a flat.
I know. What's the storage like at the Arconia?
Yeah. I'd like to know your storage because I don't have any, and I live in an old building.
IKEA has failed me.
Yeah, I'd like to know where she's putting her coats because I live in a Georgian building and like a flat like similar to the Arcadia, and I'm like, I can't store stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I just loved it. I'm so pleased you've seen it because I was going to say, if you haven't, start it today.
Yeah. No, I love it. I'm ready for the next series. And talking about, you know, the arts, you come from like a musical theatre performance background, and you performed in London, regionally, on tour. Do you have like a favourite role or a favourite production that stands out for you?
Oh, I feel so lucky to have done the shows that I've done. And I think it's so easy to sort of always have your blinkers on and be thinking ahead. And obviously there are parts I'd love to do in the future. But I think one of the parts that I've done, I played her twice actually. It was Fiona in Salad Days, and Salad Days is a very old musical now.
A classic. It's a classic.
I know, and it is absolutely crazy. But Fiona, for me, I think I was so lucky. I was able to sort of not have sort of a preconceived idea of what the character should be like. And that whole experience in the rehearsal room, our director Brian was brilliant at allowing fun and freedom. And for me, I really respond better in a rehearsal room where that's possible, rather than feeling like you're
told what to do.
Yes, or acting within, like, you know, like painting by numbers. Sometimes you can feel like you're so sort of enclosed in what you're able to do.
Co-creation is such a beautiful thing, and I'm exactly the same as an actor and as a director. I really encourage co-creation, and I want different opinions, I want different voices, I want to try things, because that's the only way that you're going to get the best out of everything and everyone. Yeah,
totally. And I sort of, it's one of those times where I got the script and I just knew straight away, I thought, I can do this, I know where I want to go with this. This is not reinventing the wheel by any means. This is not Chekhov, this is not Brecht, this is fun, and I love it. So it was very sort of light and frothy. And one of the reviews said somebody needs to airdrop Francesca Pim into Glinda in Wicked.
Oh my God, I love that!
And honestly, I don't have any tattoos, but I'm considering that because I would just adore that. But yeah, she was so stupid and fun, and she essentially, the plot of Salad Days, I mean, there's not enough hours in the day to explain it because it is wild, but she and her friends become involved in looking after an open air piano. So this is set in the 1950s, you know, a first world problem at the time, and probably still could be now. And the piano goes missing, and there's all this sort of drama. I mean, how do people lose a piano? It's very silly. And the piano,
it's very farcical, farcical.
Totally. And the piano is called Minnie, and Minnie is a magical piano. And whenever you're within the vicinity of Minnie, if she's played, she makes you uncontrollably dance. So
brilliant.
A great premise for a musical, because then as soon brilliant.
I bet the music director was like, brilliant, we can have fun with this.
Yeah, and it was just so much fun. And so so Minnie has many travels during the show, and it was just brilliant. Fiona just she's not quite the full ticket, and she sometimes forgets that if the police are asking them about this, if they're found to know where the piano is, they're going to get in trouble. There's all sorts of things like that, and she's very close. I know where it is, you know, very sort of unaware of actually what the repercussions might be. But it was just so much fun, and I just love that sort of legit style of musical theatre, and the costumes. Like, I got to wear vintage 1950s dresses, stunning, just so lovely. So yeah.
And the costumes are so important to a role. I think, especially like you said, on stage, because if you feel like you are that character and you're embodying it within the costume, the audience are just gonna also get that. Like, I think I've seen so many brilliant things that the costume has let it down.
Yes.
And you know, and it's just, I think the wardrobe department are very important.
Yeah, I understand that, you know, a lot of that comes down to budget, and we're just you know, we're so strapped for cash all the time in the arts in terms of how we can push that budget and make things work. I think if you've got someone who loves what they do in the wardrobe department, I think even with not that much budget, they can create magic. And I think
they find a way.
Yeah, it's such an incredibly creative thing. And we were just so lucky that our costume designer just, I don't even know, just had access to these sort of incredible dresses and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, just so lucky. And even the jewelry, you know, all sort of so stylized and of the time. And even Minnie the piano was painted, you know, everyone had a costume.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Oh, it just sounds like such a joy, like you said, to be able to play.
Yes.
And that's a lot of our job, isn't it? We get to play, and that's so wonderful. And talking of playing, you do a lot of pantomimes as well, and that is very playful. I've been in pantos as well myself, and I know how rigorous they also are. So how different is it performing in, you know, a musical theatre show run to going into a panto kind of limited run?
I think it's a shift in energy, because normally with a musical you have a slightly longer rehearsal period. You probably start, you know, with a nice coffee and a croissant day one, and then you move on to the music and you get to know everyone. But with a panto, that all happens, you know, like that in an absolute instant. There's no time for coffee. I mean, there is, but you know, you can't.
It's on the go. It's a coffee on the go.
In a keep cup.
In a keep cup. You bought your own. You're there.
Yeah. I mean, I've done pantos where we've been really lucky and had sort of 3 weeks of rehearsals, which felt like such a luxury. And I've done other pantos where you start on the Monday and you know, as you go into rehearsals, that you're opening the next week in front of an audience. So that's, you know, everything from rehearsals, dress and tech, all done in just under 2 weeks, really, sometimes. So yeah, and that carries on into the performance side of things. So I don't know what the schedules you've done have been like, but you know, those 10 a.m. shows, they're not
oh my
God, yeah.
We as performers in theatre aren't really morning people. It doesn't really go with the vibe.
I think I am, and then it gets to 9 o'clock before
not ready to belt out a tune. Like, your voice is not warmed up. You've not spoken to anyone.
No, I'm thinking, hang on, let me have my cup of tea in peace. No, you do. It does shift everything, because you're then putting a fake lash on pre 9 a.m.
Trying to do vocal warm-ups with your steamer because you've not even used your voice.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing, and it's a different sort of discipline, and it makes me really sad. I think I will defend panto until the end of time.
Me too.
Every performer should do one, at least one, if not several.
I think it's like TIE. It's a rite of passage.
100%, and just with the schedule, and I think your voice gets in a place, like you said, rightfully so, because you haven't had that much time to warm your voice up into the day, because you're not doing, you know, a 7:30 p.m. luxurious time of show. No. I think that discipline has really sort of shaped for me as a performer. It gives me the opportunity to think, okay, if I've got an audition or if I'm doing a matinee, I should be fine because I've done a panto show way earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it tricks your brain into thinking, it doesn't forget the clock, forget the time. It doesn't really exist within the world of panto. No. You just have to forget that. I put the blinkers on and, you know, get your voice ready. And I do think that you get used to it. It can be, there are days and times when you're absolutely exhausted and that feels like an uphill struggle.
And it's the one where everyone's trying to, you know, the period of time where everyone's trying to ward off the cold that's going around.
Yeah, exactly. But, and I
think that time of year, you know.
I think, you know, we've become very good at sort of looking after ourselves and the vitamins. And you can tell when people are starting to feel tired or under the weather because Barocca sort of appears and the Jakemans. And
Jakemans just being popped, like.
It's a telltale sign. But I think, like you said, it's a rite of passage. And I think there's so much in it that you can take forward into other jobs.
Oh, my goodness. I think if you can do a panto, you can do anything. I honestly think the training, and that's like you said, I think people take it for granted, the amount of talent and the amount of hard work that goes into pantomimes from every aspect. I've also worked pantos as a front of house member of staff. I've also worked it as in like a large receiving theatre. And even that, you know, even those, the 3 shows a day are exhausting for the front of house team, the technical team, like the whole, you know, marketing team start marketing pantomimes a year in advance.
Yeah.
It's kind of receiving houses and producing houses at large scale pantos are kind of all about panto all year round. Everything gets scheduled around that.
Absolutely. It's their main bread and butter really for the year. And also,
I think it can't be taken for granted.
No, and it's a lot of people's, you know, in the audience, it's a lot of children's first introduction to theatre.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't really put a price on that. I mean, obviously they do when you buy your tickets, but you can't put a price on how much that sort of means to people and how that's going to shape everything.
It might be that one show that that family sees every year and it's their tradition. I know so many people that do that and it's just so magical, or it's they've got access to it because the school has taken them on that 10 a.m. school visit. And their family, their family might not have even thought of that, and that might just spark that child to think, oh, it's magical, that could be something for me, and that expression that you get. But honestly, pantomimes, you've got to be a triple threat, so that's nothing to be, nothing to not shout about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've had some of the most fun on stage has been in a pantomime, and normally it's when the audience have said something that you just weren't expecting. So that sort of thing, it keeps you on your toes. I think it's so good for you as a performer to be able to roll with the punches, as it were.
Improvisation is learnt on that stage. You can have your, all your cues, all your lines, all your songs, you know where you're at, and then suddenly, like you said, some curveball just gets thrown in and you've got to go with it, and you've got to entwine it into it as well, not just like ignore it and move on. That's not panto. It's adding it into what you're doing and making it funny.
Completely, and keeping, somewhere near to the plot, maybe. And also
completely going awry.
And keeping it family friendly. So I think, I absolutely adore panto. And
saying family friendly. Have you ever done an adult panto?
No, I don't think that's my bag. No.
I think I have once. So it was, it's a bit of me though. It's a bit of you know me well enough. It was a run of the same panto we were doing. It was Cinderella, but we just did like an adult version for staff.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like I wasn't cast in an adult panto. I mean, I'm not saying never say never. If anyone's out there and wants to cast me in one, absolutely. But it was like a version of it that we basically put on for all of the crew and the staff, and they got to come and watch it and bring like a +1. So it was absolute chaos. It was mainly improvised and it was hilarious.
I can imagine that being so much fun though, because by that point you probably knew it inside out, and they probably knew it as well, and probably wanting to wait and see what you did to shake it up. I mean,
it was basically like the end of the run, and it was like a bit of a celebration, and then we all had like an after party.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was really fun. Like, it was really fun.
That's such a good idea. I've done a panto once where the in-house crew then put on their own version of the panto.
Love that.
Really good. And again, that was near the end of the run, and it just was so funny because they interweave things that sort of happened backstage into the storyline. And obviously this was only going to be relevant, it was an in-joke, it was only for the company really, but
of course
it was just so funny because even things that people did, like somebody always used to come to warm up in a scarf, and so they made this whole character about the scarf, and it was so well done because it was never really mentioned, but they had a different scarf in every scene, and there was like different ways of folding it and tying it, and it was just genius. It was all the things that someone had really thought about, things that had happened.
And that was kind of like that. Put a bunch of creatives together to make this, and the only reason it was adult was because there was a couple of risque things, and there was a couple of crude jokes, obviously, and swearing, but it wasn't like adult in like OnlyFans adult.
Sure.
Do you know what? Just to make that clear, that there was a line, but it was just all those bits that what you say off stage as well when you're like, you've had an audience in, and all those little bits that.
That's so fun. I love that. What a good idea.
It was such a good idea. I'd literally, anyone that's doing a panto, I would recommend it. Producers, directors, get your cast to do it. And talking about panto, you are a seasoned pro. You really are, Fran, because you won Great British Pantomime Award for Best Supporting Actress. Tell us about that.
So that was amazing, and you know what? So beautifully unexpected. So I mean, maybe I was naive, and maybe people know more than me, but I had no idea that they were coming in to watch. They try and go and see as many pantos as they can. If you look at their website, there's obviously, they can't go and see absolutely every panto, but so long as it's on for long enough and it's, in a certain size theatre, they'll come and watch. So I didn't know that anyone had been. And then it was 2020, so that was for the season of 2019. So I was doing Beauty and the Beast at the Northcote Theatre in Exeter. And that was an in-house panto. And that really was one of my absolute favourite jobs ever, point blank. I had so much fun. I made brilliant friends on that job, and the script had been written just for us. So we had
Amazing. That helps.
yeah, it's so great. And it was the director wrote it, and he had all these great ideas, and it was just so clever. So it was the traditional story of Beauty and the Beast, but it lent into the fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast. So if you forget the sort of Disney version, that all came into play. But in the fairy tale, Belle has, I think she actually may have two sisters, but in our version she just had one. So I played this very sort of Essex, or how do I describe it? Bimbo? Can we say bimbo?
Say bimbo if you like.
Myself, really. So yeah. So
you're talking about your characters that you were playing. Yeah.
So I played this character called Soufflé, and Soufflé was Belle's little sister, and she was a nightmare. She was a spoilt brat. She wanted to make it as an influencer. So again, super clever, because we were bringing Panto tradition, but we were modernizing it for the next generation. So Soufflé wanted to be this influencer, and she ended up falling in love. She had her own storyline, and she ended up falling in love with this Cupid character who, so instead of there being a fairy, there was sort of an evil fairy. She was the villain. And then this character called Cupid, who was almost like a narrator, as a traditional panto fairy would be, but was also in a lot of the scenes and would disguise himself as all these other sort of characters, like a postman. So when Soufflé falls in love with him, she thought he was the postman that was bringing her family the post, not knowing that actually it was all part of the magic and the storyline to get Belle to the Beast and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Her falling in love with him was collateral damage, but very fun. And so so then it was 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020.
We all know, it's the unsaid. It's like Voldemort.
I know, just crazy. But you know what? We came through the other side, so there we go. But so the Great British Pantomime Awards were due to take place in April. So I'd found out in February that I was nominated, and that was enough for me. I was so
great. Oh my god!
No, it was amazing. I was so happy, and especially I think when you've done a job that you've loved, it feels really lovely for someone to say.
And isn't it amazing for you to get recognised, like, for just doing your job? Like, it doesn't happen that often in our industry. We do a job and we're on to the next, like you said earlier, and we don't reflect, or we don't. And yes, obviously everyone's really proud of each other, and we're all schmoozing and kissing and saying yes, like you've done amazingly, but you don't really get that outside recognition very often.
Yeah, and I think you become accustomed to just not really thinking about that.
No, we did a great job because I'm a professional. We always do a great job. Let's move on.
Exactly. And I knew that I had loved it. So I think that's why it was so lovely. And I'd never done a part like that in a panto. You know, it wasn't really a traditional sort of role for me. So it was really, really fun. So I found out in the February I was nominated, and then I was so excited to have my dress. I've still got the dress I was going to wear to the awards ceremony. I've never worn it. One day.
You need an occasion, Fran. There needs to be an occasion that you can wear this.
No, so yeah, I was so excited, and we were meant to go to this awards ceremony. I thought, I've never even been to an awards ceremony. This is amazing. And then COVID happened, so they moved everything online, and so I found out over Zoom. But I'm going to tell you a story now, Becca, that I've never really confessed to other people. So,
I'm excited. We're here for it.
As you know, there is a delay sometimes on Zoom.
Yes.
Myself, my agent, and there was another female client that he had who'd also been nominated for a separate category that was going to be announced that night. We did like a watch party on Zoom, and I had my phone just on the sort of table near where I was sat, and a notification popped up maybe 20-30 seconds before Zoom caught up with the announcement. So I had seen, because they had tweeted and tagged me, or maybe they'd scheduled the post, I don't know, but it said congratulations, and so I'd seen that I'd won, but I'm watching live with my agent and this other client, so I thought, I can't show on my face because that's just going to look really weird. So I did something else that was really weird and just pretended that I didn't know. And so I literally
acting.
I got to practice internally. I mean, it reminds me of, that episode of Friends where they practice their gracious loser and their gracious winning faces.
I could keep the winning face inside for those seconds must have felt like hours.
Oh, so long. It was so funny. And so I'm just sat there like smiling away, like, okay. And then I had to do the whole
Me?
because I also needed to look shocked because I mean I really didn't think I was going to win it. I mean, I didn't know. I still don't understand how it happened.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny because I thought I cannot look like I expected to win when all it is that I've just found out a few seconds early.
I found out first and then had to just keep it all inside, and now I'm very confused about how my emotions should come across.
Yeah. So that was a hilarious, lockdown thing, but it was really good fun. And then, yeah, I think I just put like a sparkly jumper on and watch it at home. And they did a really good job because obviously everything arts related was just struggling to exist at that point. So it was so lovely to have that to look forward to.
I remember seeing it all coming through on your socials, and I was like, oh my God, congratulations. And it was so nice to see people still being celebrated.
Yeah.
And things still going ahead, and that they didn't just cancel everything, and people still being celebrated for the things that they achieved before we've all been locked down. I think it was so important, and I just loved everyone championing each other throughout that time, and for them to completely pull it would have been such a mistake, so they made the right decision there for sure.
And obviously for putting it online, they didn't make any money in doing that because it's free to watch. It wasn't like having the award ceremony and having people buy tickets and have a bit of a show to go and see. So I think they did it over a few nights, and I watched sort of every night, even if it wasn't my category. And it was just so nice, like you said, to sort of still be able to celebrate the fact that even though the arts wasn't existing physically at that point, that doesn't take away the history we've done, and it doesn't rule the future. So
no, absolutely. And well done you as well for dealing with that emotional roller coaster of those messages. And
honestly, I'd love to have seen what I look like trying to process what I should do with my face, but there we go.
You just like look like you were holding your breath or something. Like, oh, this is what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of smile that's like a grimace.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all good, yay. Oh, but well done. That's such an achievement, and so lovely to have. And the fact that and you're still pantoing, which is just such a great thing. But you also do a lot of teaching as well, so you are a qualified ballet teacher. How does kind of teaching complement your performing career?
Well, I'm just such a believer that we're always learning, and I think I learn things from the students that I teach, and hopefully they learn things from me. But I think it really, the crossover for me is that it makes me, I've always respected creatives in terms of choreographers, directors, producers, musical directors. I've always had huge respect and admiration for them. But I think it gives me the sympathy of thinking, actually, sometimes it can be like herding cats, and that must be what it's like in a rehearsal room at times, because, sometimes there can be a lot of people involved in a production, and there's so many moving parts, and, you're all at the mercy of the overall vision or time and budget, like we said. So I think for me, that's the crossover. I think it's having sort of the respect that I can see how difficult it can be. And obviously it's not exactly the same, but there is a crossover there with, when I say one more time to the kids and I actually don't mean it, if a choreographer says that in a rehearsal room and doesn't mean it, I understand that they might have to say it because they're only one person and they're trying to look at a lot in one go. So I think that's the crossover, definitely.
That's such a great way to look at it, and that's such a great thing to take away from it, because you're so right. And what you say to your students, you are a student when you're learning a new part, so it's in a way, aren't you? So it's kind of having that grace. I say it a lot too. I do a lot of facilitation and directing as well as performing, and I say it a lot to the people I work with, people that I'm either directing or facilitating. I'm like, we need to all give each other grace. Like, that is my word, because exactly what you said. I'm like, I am one person, I'm trying to get the best out of you, and you're trying to give me the best. But we're not always going to be perfect, and we're not always going to know what the next step is, and that's okay. But as long as we give ourselves and each other grace, and we listen, and we're conscientious and conscious of each other as well, that's all we can do, really.
Oh, 100%. And I think we touched on it earlier, having a rehearsal period means that there's got to be an element of fun and a sort of experimentation with, sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you find this, but sometimes I can choreograph something in my head and then I'll go into teaching and I'll think, absolutely not, that was a terrible idea by me, or it just doesn't work for whatever reason.
And you've got to adapt, and you've got to change it on the spot.
Yeah, and that's really hard. And I think if you're doing that with professionals and with adults, that's a whole different ballgame, really. So yeah, I think it makes me aware that, everyone's just trying to do their job, and some people's jobs rely on more people than yours might. So
exactly that. And it's, it's so easy to be wrapped up in the part that we play, the cog that we are in the machine. But I think it's, I really try and remind myself to think about, reflect on everyone else and what they're doing. And, we're big personalities working with big personalities. So there's always going to be little things, but actually we're all decent human beings, otherwise we wouldn't work in this industry. You can't work in it unless you freaking love it, and unless you want to just bring joy and spread smiles. And talking of that, can you tell us about working with did you see my little segue there?
It was an award-winning segue.
Thank you. I cut myself off in it because I just saw you kind of roll your eyes.
No, I wasn't rolling my eyes. I was absolutely like, this is fantastic from you.
I'll go back to it then. So talking of, is this thing on? Talking of spreading smiles, can you tell us about your work with Spread a Smile?
Oh, I'd love to. So Spread a Smile is a absolutely beautiful charity who they were set up by two ladies who are friends, and one of them had a little nephew who at the time was very, very poorly and was undergoing treatment in Great Ormond Street. And Josephine realised that life in hospital for anyone is rubbish, but for a child, you are so sapped of your childhood and the fun that comes with being a child, and you don't get to make up that time in adulthood. I mean, maybe we do in what we do, because I think acting and performing in the arts perhaps there's an element of Peter Pan syndrome, but her whole premise was to bring joy and spread smiles to children and their siblings and their families, really, by default, who are experiencing times when their children are either in hospital or at home receiving treatment, or in between treatment. And I know that during COVID, we all became really aware of isolation and self-isolation, but obviously if you have certain types of illnesses or your immune system may be compromised, that has been something that you would have been aware of for a long time. So what the charity does so well is that, yes, we do go into the hospitals and we entertain. I mean, the charity has magicians, singers, face painters, therapy dogs, all sorts that come into the hospitals and entertain. But we also still use Zoom, and we Zoom into people's houses or into hospital wards or hospital rooms or hospices, anywhere that the Wi-Fi will last. And it's just so lovely to be able to be somebody who is not going to give that family bad news, or who is not going to have to administer medication to those children. And I mean, I have so much respect for all of the NHS staff that I work with and come into contact with. They are angels on earth. I really believe that. But it's so lovely to be something that is somewhat of a distraction for those children, and also to hopefully create a snapshot of a memory of a time that's pretty bleak, and fill it with something that is fun and could be even 2 minutes of laughter. I think that, like we said at the beginning, that need for escapism is so important, and it's such an honor to be able to do that for families, it feels like such an easy thing, because it might just be singing their child's favorite song, and that might seem like nothing, but to them at that time, there's something very special about personal interaction and that sort of one-to-one entertainment. And I thank my lucky stars every day that I get to work for that charity, because I think it can feel sometimes in the arts, we can feel very sort of, not that it's a selfish career, but you can feel very hyper-focused on, am I doing the right thing? What's next? Why am I doing this?
Am I progressing in my career in the correct way? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And actually to strip that back and to just entertain and not be thinking from a singing point of view, I'm not sure how I placed that note today, and to take all that away and just to take that human interaction and the beauty of live music, singing, entertainment. It's just it's so special. And I think being reminded of that, it helps me as well. You know, I think it's so humbling. So yeah.
It takes such a special person to be able to do something like that as well, Fran, like to be able to go into those environments and, you know, use your talents for good and to spread that joy, because yes, you absolutely are right to be humbled by it, and, you know, to be like blessed to go into those situations and use your talent for good, because it's such a gorgeous thing. But also it's heavy. Like what you do is heavy. Like, have there been times when you've kind of come out and that heaviness has stayed with you, or are you quite good at just kind of shrugging it off?
I mean, we're given so much support through the charity, so much help, and we, the entertainers that do go into intensive care, where things like you said are that bit heavier, we have sort of like counselling sessions, group sessions a couple of times a year, and it's great. And I think just talking about it with people that have experienced the same thing is always going to be a sort of therapeutic experience. But oh gosh, yeah, there are times where I think one of the managers explained it so beautifully, and this is what stays with me. So in those moments where I feel, okay, I'm teetering on the edge of now becoming emotional. Yeah. It's remembering that as awful as the situation is, this is not your situation. This is not your fight right now, and your job is just to create that little bit of joy for that family. And that is what keeps me going, because if you dwell on the sadness, I think
if you sit in that, then it becomes something else.
When you think of the fact that actually this is going to make a tiny positive for a family who really need it, let's rub that, because that feels like such a simple thing to do, and that I think overhauls your whole perception of something. But it is tough. And like there was one time where I was in a hospital, it was in an intensive care unit, and there was a dad who had, and it's so bad, it shouldn't be this way, but when the dads cry, that really gets me. It really gets me. And I think it's because, again, a whole different conversation, but the whole sort of
how society has made us feel about males showing vulnerability. And I'm so glad it's being spoken about more, and we're seeing it more in the entertainment industry, and we are, you know, and it's being mental health, men's mental health is being shone a light on, but it's just that ingrained, and it's not a you thing, Fran, it's a societal thing that the media have put on us.
Yeah, totally. And exactly so. And there is a real sort of stigma around men and emotions, and them showing emotions, which is so wrong. And there was a dad, and he hadn't come across the charity before. And I think he probably thought, what on earth is going on? You know, I'm dealing with all this. And in walks a woman in a t-shirt saying "spread a smile" and a girl dressed as a fairy. What is happening? You know, this is too much. And fair enough, sometimes it is, and that is absolutely understandable. But his little boy was in a sort of private in a room because he couldn't be on the ward, as it were. And this little boy saw us through the window, and we weren't allowed to go in, because obviously with going to different hospitals and different wards, if we were to go in to a room where there was sort of an infection that could be spreadable, he then couldn't go and see other children, because that would risk the infection being carried and spreading. So the manager I was with, fantastic woman, she suddenly thought on her feet, and she said, well, we do Zoom all the time, and normally it's a lot more sort of like arranged in the with a longer time period, but she said, we'll do it. So the dad had his laptop for work, we Zoomed in the room, so we're just outside. And this little boy, I think we sang a couple of songs from The Lion King, which were his favorite. He honestly was so animated by this. The nurses were coming out saying, we've not seen him react to things in weeks. His dad came out in floods of tears and just couldn't thank us enough. And it chokes me up even now, but he came and found
me up. You're just talking about it, babe, honestly.
And speak, and he was embarrassed, and we were saying, don't be embarrassed. And then he couldn't get the word thank you out enough, and it was so lovely. And then we was doing the rounds in the ward, and about 10 minutes later he came out and he found us, and he just said, where can I donate? And he'd seen like firsthand that, you know, it's all very, very well talking and sharing experiences, but until you that magic is so sort of, it transcends anything. And it was so adorable. And we were saying, no, you don't need to donate. We're here to
we're doing this for you. This is what people are donating for. Yeah.
It stays with me as such like an incredible moment, because I think he just, in that sort of 5-minute probably interaction, he got a full experience of just how powerful all the stuff that I said to you before, you know, the importance of this personal touch and this entertainment, how key and how poignant that is, and how needed it is when a child is at their lowest ebb. And it was just so, you know, all I'd done was open my mouth, and all the manager had done was link us up through the hospital Wi-Fi, but it didn't matter about that. It was everything that the family had got out of it. And it's such a simple thing. And yeah, magic.
And the power of theatre.
Yeah.
Like in the most dire of situations, the arts can lift up and can transcend people into a different space. And I'll put the link to where you can donate for Spread a Smile in the information of this episode, because I absolutely think it's such a worthwhile thing. I have not the experience you have, but we met, me and Fran, for context, as children entertainers. I have gone into kind of ICU units in the hospitals and done, you know, as there are other princesses available, but Elsa as a popular one, and I did a couple of them, and I didn't have the support that you're talking about from your managers and the company of Spread a Smile. Like, it just sounds like they're looking after everyone, and that's so important, because yes, you know, it might feel like you're just doing this little thing of going in, but you know, even just talking about that choking up, the good can make you emotional as well. The fact that it made such an impact, that can stay with you. And I think just having everyone being looked after within, I don't think I'm saying this very well because I'm emotional now, but you know what I mean. It's just having that, knowing what you're going into. And I think when I did it, I was quite a young 20-something-year-old. And you've got a naivety about you. And I think if you're not used to working in those settings, or I've worked with a lot of vulnerable people in different settings now, so I've got a thicker skin, and also I've got experience. But I think if you don't, like, talent is one thing, but you've got to have the kind of the backup of your team looking after you and making sure everyone's safe, basically, like within their well-being.
Completely. And you know, again, I just take my hat off to the doctors and nurses that deal with that every day and have to sort of not take that home with them. But I think, like you said, it's the support network around things like that that enable operations like that to thrive and to work really well. When I first started with the charity, I mean, there was a situation where I did get really emotional, but we're not meant to show emotion because it's not our fight. And I think you can be empathetic, and that's 100%. But it's going to make the family feel worse if you then start blubbing.
Absolutely. So it's not about you. It's not about you. And that's I think that's such a thing that you need to, like, I used to go into care homes, and I used to teach dance in care homes, like seated dance.
I bet they just loved you.
Yeah, it was for mobility, but to make it was called Golden Toes, the company, and to make it a bit of them, because it was mainly people living with dementia, so it was older people mainly. We did do some other kind of care homes, but it was mainly that. So it was people either living with dementia or just had got to the age where their memory just wasn't great, and they were in the care home because they needed looking after physically as well. And we used to go in, I used to do it on my own, but like we had people stationed all around the country, and I used to go in like a Strictly Come Dancing ball gown.
Oh, I bet that was amazing.
You know, like a different Strictly Come Dancing vibe outfit, all the sparkles, and they just walking in, they were like, oh, like they're cooing at you, and they just absolutely love it. And yes, I got people moving, and you know, but it wasn't just about that. It was about, the music was from their era. So you know, as we know with studies into dementia, music can transport people back and can you know, bring memories to the forefront. So it was just so lovely. But you know, that times were hard with that, because every time I went in, the majority of people didn't remember me, and I went in every other week, you know, to these same care homes, and you just always, but again, it's not my fight. I'm not going through that. They're not my grandparents, and I had to always remember that and be like, I'm here to give 45 minutes of entertainment and physical movement and mental well-being, you know, to these people, and have fun with them, and then I leave, and that's my job done, you know.
Exactly. And I think when you detach from it in that way, you've still got emotion behind it, but you're making the focus on the positives that brings, rather than dwelling on the fact that that's really quite sad. But have you ever seen that video of, I can't remember all the details, but she was a sort of ex-ballerina in her sort of 90s who had dementia, and somebody started playing for her some classical music from one of the ballets that she must have danced hundreds of times in her youth. And it's unbelievable because this woman who is really struggling with her memory, she's moving to the music in a way, she's not dancing full out, but that almost makes it more moving because she's remembering through the muscle memory of what she was doing at that point in time with the music. And that's a woman who couldn't remember her own family anymore.
Oh my gosh, I've not seen it. I need to find it. That sounds amazing.
To find it, but it's just, again, doesn't that just show that it doesn't matter
the power of, you know, the arts, literally. It's just, you know, music, movement, memory, like art is just, and I just think, you know, we can use our talents on stage, absolutely, and on screen, and like you said, for our career, because it is our career, but also being able to do those jobs and get to call them jobs, like also getting paid to go in and help people with their well-being, like,
that's
it's amazing.
It is so lovely to be able to give something back in that sort of way. And, you know, I think that's so important because, like I said before, it's not that the arts is a selfish career. It's just that you can sometimes feel that it's quite tunnel vision. And it's so lovely to have that human interaction and that, you know, one-on-one or in a small group or in a private sort of event or situation where you see firsthand the impact and the benefit of the arts. And I just wish that all the MPs that are ready to cut the money into the arts could just spend a day, just, you know, not even a day, an hour just to that. And I think,
well, you do a job that is doing that within your career. I do a job that I work with learning disabled adults and young people, directing professional theatre with them. We've just closed Sherlock Holmes at the Theatre Royal in Winchester. You know, we sold out our final show, we live streamed it for accessibility, we had creative captions, like, and a cast of up to 30 learning disabled performers, and that, you know, that is a professional standard. So yes, I'm doing my job professionally, but I'm, you know, we're making a difference together, as in they're also making a difference to me, like the actors. And I just think, you know, yes, we're both professional performers in our own right, but we're never one thing in the arts. And just me and you on this podcast, this one episode, we are doing something for good with the arts. And like you said, the MPs need to see the bigger picture, not just the, again, not to say that arts for art's sake is not enough. It is. I said that earlier. It just comes with, there's so many different angles, isn't there? And I just, it just riles me up. And we've, even that theatre company, we've struggled to get funding. And you just think, like, we really have. And it's like wild, because you're just like, how, what if we're not funding things like that, what are we funding?
I know.
Like,
I know.
I don't.
It's baffling, isn't it? It's always the first thing to go, the funding parts. But I thought that perhaps things would have improved after the pandemic, when, you know, what did everyone turn to when they were stuck?
Everyone consume.
Exactly. It's wild that still hasn't, you know.
It is. But like we said, on to like lighter things in our career. We met in the entertainment, the children's entertainment world.
Yes.
we both liked to call ourselves part-time princesses.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we were.
That was, you know, that was the role.
That was the role. We other characters were available, but we mainly played princesses, didn't we? I don't want to say the D word for copyright, but you know. We all know.
Princesses linked with the mouse. Can we say that?
We can say that. Princesses, we knew the mouse, basically, guys. We knew the big guy. We knew the mouse. We knew the big cheese. Oh God, I love this. I usually ask people, as we like kind of end the podcast, I love to end on a high. I usually ask people, what's the oddest job you've ever done? But I'm going to slightly change it for you, Fran, because I want to ask you, what is the kind of weirdest situation you've been in within children's entertainment that you found yourself in? You know, just when it doesn't have to be crazy or funny, just something where you've just thought, what is this? What is my life?
I mean, that was every Saturday and Sunday. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I think, there's so many situations where you just are hilarious. And I mean, I do love that, the fact that we met there and we did that as a job, and it was absolutely.
And when we got to do joint parties together.
Oh, the best.
It was a dream because, guys, we used to do this on our own most of the time, you know, up to 30 kids in a hall, crazy times. We've got our head mics if they were working.
Yeah.
And we'd, you know, roll in our suitcase and our speakers around London, because that's where we did it, you know, on the tube, wrangling hoop dresses in toilets. And when you got to do it with another fellow princess who just got it.
Yeah, it was it made it a million times better and so much easier, because not only was the responsibility shared, but it was just, you knew that you were also going to enjoy it more because you weren't on your own with, and you say 30 children, but it was normally plus siblings, add-ons, and the ones that we forgot about.
And the parents that are drinking in the corner, so they're really not responsible.
I think
not every parent, I will say that, but every now and then you got a bit of a boozy party, didn't you?
Yeah, they just don't do it. Please wait until they've gone home. I think there are two situations that, funny enough, they stem from children's entertainment and part that sort of world, but actually it took me away from it. So I don't know if I ever told you about this. I once had to do a birthday party in the tea terrace at House of Fraser, I think it was.
Yes, I remember you briefly telling me this, but I can't remember what happened.
So I did it a couple of times, but one that really sort of sticks in my mind is because it actually didn't happen. So it was meant to be for a lady's 70th birthday.
Okay.
So you know, everyone's a child, but she was turning 70.
Love that for her.
Yeah. And it had always been her dream to have afternoon tea with Cinderella.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
No, so I was like, we're going to get on. So I was meant to be Cinderella in I don't know if they still have it. I mean, I think House of Fraser doesn't all exist in every sort of.
They liquidized.
Yeah, but not because of this.
Yeah, Fran was responsible for the demise of House of Fraser.
I promise I'm not. But they had one in Victoria for a while, and they had one on Oxford Street, and there may have been, you know, other tea terraces are available, but they had this incredible, Google it because it is amazing if you haven't seen it. They made like a Cinderella's carriage which had a table in the middle so that you could sit in it and have afternoon tea. So it was meant to be like the pumpkin transformed into a carriage, as if it was going to the ball, but you'd have your afternoon tea.
Gorgeous. I remember seeing pictures, and I think I did go in once and see it and be like, oh, that's where they do that sometimes. Yeah,
amazing. But also, I mean, one of the ones that I did that did go ahead, it was a bit uncomfortable because obviously you're there as the princess for that family, but then everyone else thought that you were just there.
And they're taking photos. And
it was a little bit like, oh, I wonder how many holiday pictures I've, you know, my side profile has appeared in. Yeah. So anyway, but this one for this lady's 70th, and it was she just wanted to have, I mean, how adorable, afternoon tea and a chat with Cinderella. And it was one of the days when London had snow. So
London can't deal with snow.
No. So it was December, and it was going to be so beautiful because obviously it gets dark really early, and it was I just thought it would be magical for them, you know, lovely time. And so I set off approximately 4 hours early because of knowing that.
Yeah. You lived in London, but you were like, guys, it's snowing. Everything takes triple time.
Yeah, and I can remember slipping as every step. I was like, I'm nearly there. I was miles away. Anyway, I got there, and I hadn't heard anything all morning. No one had said, you know, we might not get there. Anyway, so I get to Victoria, because this one was in Victoria, I think, and it is like a blizzard. And it's so hard to imagine that in London, but it does happen occasionally. And I make my way out to the tea terrace, and I'm carrying, you know, all the stuff, this enormous costume in a bag. And I get to the tea terrace, and I asked about, you know, where I could go to get changed, or, you know, I'm here just to let you know in case they arrive. And there's no sign of them. So I'm a bit early. I sort of wait around, you know, pop to Zara, spend too much money, come back.
Spend the money that you were meant to earn.
Yes. And then they're still not there. So eventually I managed to get in touch, and this very tearful 70-year-old lady says to me, we can't get out of our drive, we're snowed in. I'm so gutted.
Oh.
And I don't think they managed to reschedule. Well, they may have done, but they may have had, you know, another Oh, I should have said the name of the princess, but a princess in a blue dress with a glass slipper. Yeah, they
made. It's not, babe. It's not our company that we were working for, so it's not. We're not liable.
And then I suppose the other situation, which was so weird, but you just never know. Every job you do, you never know where it's going to lead. I was interviewed for Claudia Winkleman's radio show called "What Did You Do at the Weekend?" or "What Did You Get Up to at the Weekend?"
I remember this.
Yes, again, this was funny enough just before COVID. So I got to speak to Claudia. It was amazing. And she just loved this concept of us sort of rocking up at kids' parties and being, you know, a unicorn.
I remember this because a call out went out on the group about it.
Yeah.
And then I tuned in. I listened to you live because we knew it was happening. I literally remember listening to you and being like, oh my God, Fran.
I was so nervous because I think I had to speak to one of their researchers first, who was, you know, just like a lovely normal human. And then it was the Claudia Winkleman, and it was just, and then that year for Christmas, about 3 people got me Claudia Winkleman's autobiography as a present. my friend Claudia. But no, you just never know where things are going to take you. So,
no. Yeah. Well, it's like I got interviewed on the radio about pantomime the other year. I was talking about pantomime because they were doing a new degree in panto, and if they wanted to talk about if I thought it was a good idea, and I was like, I absolutely do, because I think, like what you said, everyone needs to do a panto that's in the arts.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'd love to. I don't really want to do another degree, but I would love to know what sort of things they look at in that. I bet that's really interesting.
It's really intense as well. Like we were saying, the run of panto is intense, so I can only imagine the degree is like. You're really training.
I reckon one of the modules means that you have to do, like, instead of a 3-show day, like a 3-essay day, like churn out 3 essays in one day.
3 different topics, go. I wonder if like it has a placement, like your 3rd year you have to do a panto placement.
Oh, that would be so good, actually.
Can you imagine?
Oh, I'm intrigued. I can't. I'm doing it, but I just want to see what the course looks like. But
yeah, I think it's cool. But yeah, that was a similar. That came from just doing panto, isn't it? It was from a company I was in a panto for, and they just said, oh, they need someone to talk. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I can do it.
Absolutely. I got paid for it. So I was like, yeah.
Yes. And I think sometimes, you know, we can be so hesitant for things, but actually just saying yes to the right things, you just never know what that's going to lead to. And yeah.
100%. And also, we love a chat. Like, that's why I love this podcast. And thank you for coming on it, because I just love chatting and just hearing all about the wonderful, weird and wonderful worlds that we work and we live in. And there's so much that crosses over, and it's just all about collaboration and connection, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm sad that we've come to the end of our hour today, because we could just keep chatting all day. You know we could, but the listeners might not want that. Yeah. But before we go, is there anything you've got coming up that you'd like to shout about? Anything you're in?
So I am doing a music hall concert, and this is relatively new for me, which sounds really silly because music hall is not new, but it is being produced by Paper Moon Theatre Company and the incredible Jan Hunt, who I'm sure she won't mind me saying is now 88 years young and still performing, directing, producing. She is an absolute inspiration. I know people throw that word around, but she is. I want her to talk to me, because I'm like a sponge. I want to get all the information from her. She's amazing.
Like you said, we're always learning.
Always like. So Jan was on a program that we are much too young to remember called Crackerjack, which was on for children's TV, and she has done a lot of musicals. She used to be in this program called The Good Old Days, which was on the BBC. 50 years ago, I think now. And so Jan is still producing and performing. And so this is a one-night show, and the star turn is Anita Harris, who has done a lot of music hall. And similar to Jan, is just a complete female theatrical inspiration and tour de force. And yes, I'm singing a couple of medleys in that. We've got a 13-piece orchestra, which, you know, as a singer, it's so lovely to sing with live accompaniment. And
oh, it's beautiful. It's such a treat, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'll be there doing a couple of ditties.
Gorgeous. And thank you so much, Francesca Pim. You have been a delight.
Honestly, that felt more like a FaceTime.
I'm glad I'm doing something right. No, honestly, thank you. It's been so lovely. I hope you've had fun.
So much fun. Thank you so much.
We'll chat soon. Thanks for being part of the arts.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Part of the Arts. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the others, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Also, we would love it if you could support this passion project by buying us a coffee. All the info is below. Thank you and see you next time.